Welcome back to another episode of Word on the Street.
We've been gone for a couple of weeks, but we're back with both local and national news updates.
Unfortunately, we are still working out our backstage look into the theater here, but in this week's episode, we will be discussing Oscar updates, new movies hitting the theaters, Iowa alumni who came back to visit, and local theatrical productions.
We have a lot to talk about this week, so sit back, relax, and let's take a look at the Word on the Street.
On Friday, the 2025 Academy Awards host was announced.
Conan O'Brien will be taking the Oscar stage for the first time to host the ceremony. O'Brien has hosted late-night television for about 28 years, but this will be his first time hosting the Oscars.
O'Brien used what he knows best, and that is humor, to make the announcement. He responded with, quote, "America demanded it, and now it's happening. Taco Bell's new cheesy chalupa supreme. In other news, I'm hosting the Oscars."
The Academy's CEO and president said in a joint statement, quote, "He is the perfect person to help lead our global celebration of film with his brilliant humor, his love of movies, and his live TV experience. His remarkable ability to connect with audiences will bring viewers together to do what the Oscars do best, honor the spectacular films and filmmakers of this year."
The Academy Awards will air March 2nd, so stay tuned for more pre- and post updates. And this week, 2024's Sexiest Man Alive was announced.
John Krasinski claimed the title this year. He made an appearance on Stephen Colbert's to celebrate his new title.
John Krasinski has been in a number of different movies, but got his claim to fame on the sitcom The Office.
He sat down with People magazine for an interview about he felt receiving the Sexiest Man Alive title. Let's take a look.
Zero thoughts other than maybe I'm being punked. And then after that, it was just, it was a full surreality. That's not how I wake up usually thinking, is this the day that I'll be asked to be Sexiest Man Alive? And yet, it was the day. You guys did it. You guys really raised the bar for me.
Now, The Office is my personal favorite sitcom, and I just love John Krasinski so much.
I do too. I feel like this is a great person to have this title. He's funny, he's charming, he's just everything that it should be. So personally, I was excited when I saw the news.
Oh, definitely. It didn't take me by surprise, we'll just say that.
No, definitely not. And it was an exciting week for students in the film program and journalism program here at Iowa.
Brian Woods and Scott Beck, who went through Iowa's film program, came back to their alma mater to talk with students about their newly released film, Heretic.
Heretic is a thriller and horror movie about two young missionaries who find themselves trapped in a house with the main character, Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant.
The girls must turn to and rely on faith to escape.
Woods and Beck have been childhood friends and have written movies together since they were 11 years old.
They are both Iowa natives and have released many successful films together, such as A Quiet Place. Now, I think this is just a really big opportunity to show again just how great the arts are in Iowa. Some people just don't realize that there's a program here and that there are a lot of successful writers and directors that come out of Iowa and the university.
Absolutely. When they came, I was so excited. They're the nicest guys, just really willing to talk to students. They answered so many questions for so long, and never once did they say they needed a break or got discouraged. They were more than eager to talk with students, and I think that's great. I think that's why Iowa has such a strong program, is that these alum are willing to share their insights, and it was just a really great experience. I know that they said they really enjoy coming back to Iowa just for the culture, and I agree with them. I feel like there's no place like Iowa City, and it's a great community to kind of thrive in and pass their knowledge along.
100% for sure.
Journalism students, including myself, got the chance to ask them about their screenplay and recent successes. Let's take a look. The University of Iowa is known for its great film program and astounding list of alumni. Two filmmakers and alumni, Brian Woods and Scott Beck, were back on campus to talk with students about their new film, Heretic.
We were in 7th grade. We saw the movie Contact by Robert Zemeckis and written by Carl Sagan, and that was like, oh wow, like one day it would be really fun to do a movie that's about religion and that's a conversation about religion. Heretic's been rolling around in our heads for that long.
Heretic is a psychological horror film that focuses on the Mormon religion. The main character, Mr. Reed, is played by Hugh Grant.
He knew Reed inside and out, and he knew to play the tone of the scene where it feels scary, but there's these little blips of of humor. He's very smart about where to slightly go off book and then use that to provoke a reaction from either his co-stars or from like the audience themselves.
DITV's news director and myself got to come into the studio with the directors and ask them a few of our own questions. How did Iowa kind of set you up for success?
We find ourselves drawn back to the state of Iowa. Like, we split time between here and Los Angeles because it's grounding and it's inspiring. It's like really cool to just be in the home state that we grew up in and be around really talented, amazing, regular people.
How important do you think that film as a medium is, can tackle on some of those big issues, especially in a country now where it seems like a lot is divided?
It's almost voyeuristic, but in a way that you can understand somebody. So even if you're seeing somebody that on the outset seems like ill intent or they're a villain, for lack of a better term, you can communicate some humanity in there. You can see an understanding of why somebody comes to their own way in the world or their own belief system.
Brian Woods and Scott Beck are now joining the list of accomplished artists who attended the University of Iowa. From the Adler Journalism Building, this is Grace Lathrop, DITV.
Now, transitioning to another movie that's all the rage right now is Wicked. Now, I'm ecstatic for this one. Critics are saying that this is the best movie musical since Chicago, which is one of my personal favorites.
I'm super excited too, Hannah. I have been waiting, counting down the days for this. My friends are so excited. I got to see Wicked a couple years ago on Broadway, so this is I'm so excited for this. 3 years of filming, and big leading ladies Cynthia Erivo and Grammy winner Ariana Grande are starring in it, so I know it's just going to be great. It's already gotten some buzz about award nominations, and it hasn't even come out yet, so really big things happening.
Yeah, and Wicked, I mean, it's just a classic. Like, it's one of the longest running shows on Broadway. Like, I saw it when I was, I think, 10 years old. I went with my family, and I'm a big theater person. I've done theater since I was about 8 years old, especially musical theater. And seeing this, I was literally sitting on the edge of my chair. There were people next to me were talking, and I didn't even care. And my mouth was open, my eyes were wide. I was actually enthralled with this show. It just has such a special place in my heart. It's about as old as us. It's a 20-year-old show, and it's just so cool that it's on the screen, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, for sure. And movie musicals have very large budgets, take a lot of hard work, and so it's kind of disappointing when sometimes they are flops. So I'm really hoping this one has really high expectations. I'm really hoping it lives up to those. And I know that this cast did sing live, which was a huge thing. That is really hard to do.
Yes, and it's a big deal just because they wanted to make it as theatrical as possible. When I was watching interviews and reading some stuff on it, it's really important for them, specifically for the characters of Galinda and Elphaba, the two leading ladies. They wanted to make sure they had this chemistry live on their movie. So they were like, the only way to do that is to sing live. They didn't want to record it and then just lip sync it. So they decided, we're going to sing everything live. We're going to do all of our own stunts. And they decided that they were going to build every single set and use CGI as little as possible to create this actual theatrical real world of Oz for these actors.
Yeah, I just, the hard work that went into this is just really incredible. I know that the cast has been touring right now for a little press tour. I saw that some big names attended. Now that it's Dancing with the Stars season, I saw that Riley Arnold went and her partner on the show also went. So really cool things happening and really good attention towards it. I think movie musicals are always so underrated and people just draw assumptions about them, so I'm really excited that this one's getting the attention it deserves.
And I'm excited that they're also taking the time, 3 years of filming, that's a long time.
Yeah.
But they're taking the time to make sure all the costumes are perfect for these characters and that, that each of the actors are taking their time with their characters to really embody them and bring them to life. And Kristen Chenoweth, who originated Galinda, she was Ariana Grande's mentor growing up. Ariana has known her since she was 10 years old and went backstage to meet the original Galinda and told her at 10 years old, I'm going to be Galinda one day. And I just love hearing that story. It's just adorable. And, Kristen was there for the first premiere. They had all the original or all of the Galindas and Elphabas who have been on stage to see it for the first time. And she just raved about it and said how fantastic it was. And it's just, from her opinion, that matters.
Absolutely. I am super excited to see this movie. Switching gears a little bit, Hannah and I did actually get to see a theater production here at Iowa a couple days ago, and I must say I was super impressed with this show.
Oh my gosh, I kind of knew what to expect going in. I knew that it was a play about a collection of poems but I didn't know what exactly to expect. But the full title is For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. So that's a very heavy title, and you kind of have to know going into it what it's going to be discussed. But at some points, I was actually sobbing. Like, it really hit home for a lot of people in the audience, and I could tell by the reactions.
Absolutely, and I know that the director flew in to direct this show, and it even had some Broadway performers in the show as well, which is super impressive. I really had no expectations. I had no idea what it was about. I was just kind of going in blind, but it was really empowering, and it was only a cast of 4 girls, which was also super cool. And they just read through a bunch of poems, but they told it in a different way that I wasn't expecting. There was singing, there was dancing, there was chanting. So I was super impressed, and I really enjoyed it.
And the original cast wasn't supposed to be 4. It was supposed to be 8 or 7. And I don't know what happened, but just from the Vine of the theater department, I knew that they had some people that ended up having to leave the show. And so this created a huge task for these actors that were still there. Like, oh my gosh, we're going to have to learn these parts now. What are we going to do? So it's like 2 weeks before the show, they're having to learn all these parts and like changing everything. So that's just a lot of pressure on them to be able to do so quickly. But that's kind of how the business is. So I feel like this is one of the best opportunities for those actors to realize, like, this is what it's going to be in the real world when I'm on stage. I have to be professional. I have to roll with the punches. People are going to come and go, and I'm just going to have to pick it up and be like, okay, this is my job. I need to be able to do it.
Yeah, you kind of just have to roll with it. And I mean, whatever happens, happens. But it's just a matter of moving on, you know, picking up the slack where it needs to go and rolling with it. And they did a great job. I would have had no idea that it was supposed to be 7 or 8 people. And it was really cool to see them. They all had very similar costumes, but each one was in a different bright color. So when they stood together, it really, really came together, and it was just beautiful to see on stage. They did a great job. The set really encapsulated the story, but it didn't overpower. I felt like it was just there in the background.
I thought the set was great because it was basically an all blank white set, and the lighting is what created this world. We had these big like silks, and everything was just white. So if you had the lights off, you would just see a blank white set. Kind of boring, right? But when you put this lighting aspect into it, it just creates this beautiful rainbow, just like For Colored Girls. It was perfect. We had different projections on screen, and it just worked for each different story. There was a different color that went with it, and it completely changed the tone of it and really set the stage for each poem.
For sure, and I know the theater department is kind of transitioning a little bit. They're working on new musicals coming up and new plays.
Yeah, so next semester, we already had auditions for next semester shows. We're gonna be gearing towards that, but I know this was super important for the department to be able to do this show, and I think they did a phenomenal job. The acting was just incredible, and like you said, they had someone who had been in professional shows. She chose to be in this because it's such a powerful piece, and I mean, they just did amazing. They casted so great together.
Yeah, and I mean, the show was only also an hour and 30 minutes long. It was short, but it did not need to be any longer. It was the perfect amount of time to encapsulate what they wanted to encapsulate, and I know people were just in awe. They had a really good turnout too, which I was really happy about, because sometimes plays go a little bit more unnoticed compared to musicals.
Definitely.
But the audience was filled, and people were super just engaged, and it was really an amazing experience.
And you had an opinion that I agreed with, that the beginning was a little bit of a confusion. You know, it started out very slow. You didn't really know what was going on, and it was a little bit hard to keep up with right away. You know, the first story is about a little girl who is has an imaginary friend and tries to run away from home, and you're like, okay, where's this going? It's about this book. And then it transitions into the next one, and it's just oh, that was a quick switch. So it does take a little bit to, you have to sit there and really get with it before you're able to switch and be okay, this is one story, this is another one. Oh, now they're doing it together. But at the beginning, it does take a little bit to get used to.
Yeah, if you didn't have any knowledge that it was written in more poetic form, you would be a little confused at first. But I picked it up, we got it, and I really enjoyed it. Especially the ending was really, really great too. I felt like it was super powerful at the end, and that's really where the entire play kind of shined.
Definitely. And I feel like the theater department in general here likes to incorporate dance and music as much as possible. So they had a choreographer who, you know, there were several points where there was dancing on stage, and I didn't expect that. And there have been several plays here where they have incorporated dance and music, and like there was singing, and it was so beautiful. They had all this a cappella that was in 4-part harmony, just beautiful. And
Yeah.
I just love that they're able to do that. And, you know, especially for some plays that don't need music or don't require it, but they still add it in just because it creates this other layer.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely spoke to everyone, no matter your experience. And I really think that that is the best form of storytelling, something that anyone can connect to at some degree. Maybe not the entire story, but just certain parts of it. That's what really makes a great story, and that's what I really liked about this play.
100%. And, you know, we'll see the shows next semester and we'll talk about them. And I'm excited to see we have Sideshow the musical going up. We have the other main stage is called An Enemy of the People, but it's going to be a devised type of play versus the traditional one that is put on. So I'm excited for that. And, you know, Dear Evan Hansen is coming here.
Absolutely.
We're going to get tickets. We're going to see Dear Evan Hansen. That's exciting. But yeah, we have a lot coming up in stores. So stay tuned.
I'm super excited for it all. Thank you for tuning into this week's edition of Word on the Street.
We're here every other week to bring you your entertainment news and insights. I'm Hannah Lipsky.
And I'm Grace Lathrop, and we'll see you next time on Word on the Street.